Morning, everyone. How you doing? Interesting setup for the week. We had some good signs, if you will, around the trade war. Both sides sort of maybe pumping the brakes a little bit. Talking about getting back to the table to negotiate. I suspect a lot of this is a head fake, um, because I just don't. Again, I've said it many times. I don't see what winning looks like for either side, at least at the moment. I also see no urgency from either side to get this thing done this calendar year, maybe even half of next year. I think both countries' consumers, right, the population, could be at the mercy of the political calendar. It's no secret that we have an election coming up. I think it's next November. And, a big part of any election cycle is the economy. And I just don't see any political reasons why this needs to be solved, maybe before next summer. And I could be completely wrong, right? Maybe I'm just jaded by all the negative news cycles out there, why does it always have to be negative, right? Why can't we have like a whole 15-minute segment on positive stuff? But anyways, so I don't see this going anywhere. Again, why I watch the trade war stuff, again, as a real estate investor, I'm not in stocks, won't be in stocks, I have no intention. I follow two things, and I want to make this clear because I get some notes from folks saying, "Hey, one day you're happy, one day you're down," and that's not that's not that's not quite true, right? I'm neither up or down, right? I'm kind of trying to be emotionalist on this stuff, but what I'm trying to figure out is two things. One is what's happening to the consumer, because at least in the US, the consumer is 70% of our economy. But as a real estate investor, my biggest competitor are owner occupant buyers. When owner occupant buyers retreat from the market because A, they're scared, or B, the cost of capital is too high, as an investor, I have picked up my best deals. That's why I'm so interested in following the ebbs and flows of what I see in the consumer economy, right? And the whole idea is I sort of see it as I don't know if it's a teeter totter. Is that the thing that goes, back and forth? Because in my mind, the consumer is always somewhere between fear and greed, right? The closer to they are to greed, the less likely I'm going to find a deal because they're out there in force. The closer they are to fear, the chances of getting a deal are much higher as an investor. So that's what I'm trying to do every day, and really have been doing this for the better part of 20 years. I'm always up. I'm always looking at least a half hour, 45 minutes, trying to see what changed from yesterday. And I don't think it ever goes like an EKG, the heart thing. I never think it skyrockets up or down. I think it's all about trying to see the trend, and more importantly, see the trend when it reverses, right? Because we go up for a long time, but if you can catch the sort of rollover or uptick, if it's going the other way, things are good. And the second thing I'm trying to figure out is where is the cost of capital going? And at least in the current environment, I think it's pretty clear it's going lower. Why is that important? Well, as a real estate investor, the biggest part of my expenses, at least in most of my properties, is my mortgage. So cost of capital is going down, and I can see that coming. I can evaluate the portfolio and see what I might want to refi, recast, whatever you want to call that, and potentially increase my cash flow even more. If you watch my goals, right, which I do once a month, you know that now I have a goal of adding positive cash flow. Some of that can be done from a refinance, which lowers expenses. So that's what I'm trying to do, right? Trying to figure out what's going on with the economy, right, when the consumer, because they are my competitor, and then what is the cost of capital. So that's why I do this and why I share it. Next up, I read about Germany. They actually posted a negative 0.1% growth in their latest quarter. I think that's just more signs that the Europe-based economy is in a recession. Germany, has been the strongest country in that region for probably the better part of a decade. So to see that they're slowing and not growing is a problem for the entire region. It's why you see negative rates in Europe. It's why you probably see negative rates in a lot greater parts of Europe. I think negative rates could be the topic of the next 5 to 10 years. I think, I think one of the things I saw last week I need to research is the lost decade in Japan, because I could see many countries suffering from low rates for the better part of a decade. And obviously, as a real estate investor, I'm going to try to figure out, okay, what happens, right? Because clearly, being a saver, having money in the bank's not the option. Obviously, I think real estate took a hit in Japan, but I don't necessarily think they're connected because I think it started from such a high. So those are things I will be looking at. On a positive note, I saw that Disney and Target were forming a partnership, which I thought was creative. If I read it correctly, it looks like Disney is going to open up a quite kind of like a store inside a store inside of Target before Christmas, which I think is a great idea. I think that is something that will likely happen more and more, right? These big box stores have been getting crushed by Amazon. And one way to combat that is to take the square footage under roof and allocate it differently. And I think allocating, whatever it is, 1,000 square feet or 500 square feet to Disney as an example is exactly the kinds of things you could do. Because I don't, they obviously aren't going to share the lease model, but I'm guessing they're getting something per square foot and probably getting a piece of the profits as well. And I think that's a genius idea by Target. And I think other retailers are going to go that route. And it just makes a lot of sense. So good job, Disney and Target partnering up. The things going on in Hong Kong seem to be escalating. Guns were drawn here recently. I think that's still a smoldering fire. And again, I think that, that could be one of those black swan events that could be festering today and could spark at any moment. An invasion or anything of that, mass casualties or anything of that could cause a response from lots of parties, which would not be easy. And I really hope things calm down and people peacefully negotiate or voice their concerns and all of that. So that's still going on. And then the last one I just wanted to put out there is it actually looks like Andrew Luck. And if you don't know you don't follow sports, he is the quarterback was the quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts. What's interesting here is he's retiring at 29. He made just over $100 million in the NFL. He's had a bunch of injuries and all of that. But what I wanted to bring it up on this channel for is it really just goes to show you when the heart goes, right, the mind follows. He's been battling injuries, and at 29, he could have phoned it in and made another 50 or 80 million. But his heart wasn't in it. You could see in his news conference it was a hard decision, but he knew it was right. And sure, he could come back, clear his head and all of that. That's certainly possible at such a young age. But it's interesting to see that, as a professional athlete, someone who spent probably the better part of 15 or 16 years on this journey, getting to the pinnacle of his career, just out of nowhere going, I just don't have it anymore, right? I don't want to do it anymore, right? And it's just always eye-opening, right? If he doesn't play another snap of football, he's got hopefully 60 or 70 years left in him. And he's got to find that next career, that next thing to do. And that's why real estate investing is always good. It doesn't have an age limit on it. It allows you to, if you get good at it and profitable, you can do it until the day you're on to the next thing. So I wish him nothing but the best. He did go to school just down the street from me. He went to Stanford, which is why I followed him casually. I'm not a big football fan. But you do take note when someone who retires in their prime and somebody who did 15 years and he just doesn't have it anymore. So at the end, that's what I'm doing. I think it's going to be an interesting week. Again, I don't expect the trade war to be resolved magically. I expect lots of more peaks and valleys. I think Europe is in trouble if Germany's, is going down. Give props to Disney and Target for doing their thing, and got to watch out for Hong Kong. All right, everybody, have a great day, and we'll talk tomorrow. Bye.